The morning sunlight slipped through the dusty blinds of a tiny, worn-down house on Maple Street, a place locals called the Patch. Ryan Holt, 36, ex-engineer turned freelance fixer, woke up on the old couch that groaned louder than he did. His back cracked like bubble wrap. "Dang, I'm getting old," he muttered, rubbing his face. "Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in form? We love seeing how far our stories travel. We love you to subscribe our channel for more interesting single dad stories." The faint aroma of coffee drifted from the kitchen. But wait, he hadn't made any coffee. He turned around and his world froze. A woman stood in his kitchen, barefoot, hair slightly messy, wearing his white dress shirt like she'd just stepped out of a movie set. She held a mug, looked straight at him, and smiled, not the sweet type, but the kind that said, "I know something you don't." His mind scrambled. Excuse me, who are you?" he stammered, sounding like a broken engine. She tilted her head, amused. "Wow, you really don't remember last night, huh?" Before he could respond, his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, bounced in, her hair a messy ponytail, wearing socks that definitely didn't match. She gasped dramatically. "Daddy, that's the lady from the storm." Ryan blinked. Pieces finally clicked. The storm, the crash, the burning car. He remembered rain pounding like drums on the roof of his beat-up Chevy truck as he drove home. His headlights had caught a glimpse of a black luxury car smashed against a tree, steam hissing from the hood. He didn't think, just acted. He busted the window, cut the jammed seatbelt, pulled her out as sparks flew like fireworks on the 4th of July. She could barely breathe, shaking like a leaf in winter, whispering, "Please, don't let me die." He carried her through the storm like she weighed no more than Lily's school backpack. His house was close, just a few minutes away. He grabbed blankets, tucked her into his only real bed, and sat awake most of the night, making sure she was breathing. And now, here she was, in his kitchen, in his shirt, drinking his coffee. She set the mug down, looked at him, and said calmly, "Ryan Holt, right." He froze. "How do you know my name?" She smiled, the kind of smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Because, Ryan, my car wasn't just a car. And I'm not just anyone." She paused, letting suspense float in the air. "I'm the woman whose life you saved last night and the woman whose company owns this house." Ryan's stomach dropped like a stone. "Owns my house." She stepped closer, calm, collected, elegant. Her aura had authority, like someone used to being obeyed. He swallowed. "Why are you here?" "To talk," she said simply. She glanced at tiny Lily, who was now happily eating cereal like nothing was weird at all. The woman's eyes softened, but only for a second. Ryan noticed something. She looked strong, powerful, but broken too, just a little. "I don't even know your name," Ryan whispered. She looked at him, really looked at him, and said, "Veronica. Veronica Chase." The name rang a faint bell, but before he could place it, she turned toward the door, tension hanging in the air. "I'll be back," she said, voice firm. "We have unfinished business." When the door clicked shut, Ryan felt his world tilt just a little. Lily crunched her cereal loudly. "Daddy?" "Yeah, I like her. She looks rich, but kinda lonely." Ryan stared blankly at the door. Yeah, lonely rich girl, just his luck. But something told him this was only the beginning. What happens when a billionaire woman and a broke single dad get tangled in a promise? One neither of them saw coming. 3 days passed since Veronica Chase walked out of his front door, leaving behind unanswered questions, awkward silence, and a very confused single dad. Ryan tried to brush it off. Life didn't stop just because a mysterious rich lady showed up in his kitchen wearing his shirt like she owned the place. He still had leaky sinks to fix, electrical panels to rewire, and a grocery bill staring him down like it wanted to fight. He kept telling himself, she won't come back, people like her don't belong in places like this. But the universe, oh, it had other plans. It was a chilly Wednesday morning. Ryan was at Lily's school, crouched under a rusty sink in the teacher's lounge, trying to fix a burst pipe that was spraying water like it was auditioning for SeaWorld. His shirt was stained. His hands were greasy. He smelled like wet metal and coffee, totally glamorous. Then he heard it, a car engine. Not just any car, this one purred like a panther with a platinum credit card. He looked up, squinting through the school window. A sleek black sedan rolled in. Tinted windows, chrome accents. The kind of car that said, "I don't do discount stores." His heart skipped. No way, the door opened, white suit, perfect heels. Sunglasses that probably cost more than his truck. She came back, everything paused. Parents stopped chatting. Teachers froze mid-step. Even the flag seemed to wave a little slower. She walked, no, glided toward him. Calm, confident, unhurried, like she had all the time in the world, and maybe she did. Ryan stood up, wiping his hands on a rag. "Can I help you?" he said, sounding way calmer than he felt. She removed her sunglasses slowly, revealing those sharp, calculating eyes. "Mr. Holt," she said, "we need to talk." He crossed his arms. "If this is about the money—" "It's not," she interrupted. Her voice wasn't cold this time. It wasn't amused either. It was different. Soft, maybe. Kind of shaky, like emotions were hiding under layers of control. She pulled out her phone, tapped something, and turned the screen toward him. Security footage. Grainy, shaky, but clear enough to see. It was him, carrying her through the rain, pulling her away from the burning car, his face locked in pure determination. She looked at him, voice low. "That man saved my life. And all I did was try to pay him off like it was a receipt." Ryan swallowed. Silence hung between them, heavy as wet concrete. Then her eyes drifted to the playground. Little voices, laughing, running. One of them was Lily, trying to hula hoop and failing miserably, but smiling anyway. "She's your daughter?" Veronica asked softly. "My whole world," he said without hesitation. Something in Veronica's expression cracked, not broken but softened, like ice melting drop by drop. "She's lucky," she whispered. "I'm lucky," Ryan answered. She took a breath. "Ryan, I didn't come here for money. I came to make something right." He raised an eyebrow. "How exactly?" She pulled an envelope from her bag, legal papers, letterhead he recognized. His landlord's property management company. No way. "Veronica," he said slowly, "what did you do?" She looked directly at him. "I bought your house." He took a step back, stunned. "You what?" She didn't flinch. "As of yesterday, you don't owe another cent of rent. The house is yours. Free and clear." He stared at her like she'd said she bought the moon. "Veronica, what is this? Charity? Guilt? Some business stunt?" Her voice was calm, but her eyes, they finally looked real, human. "It's not charity. It's not guilt," she said quietly. "It's gratitude and maybe a beginning." Ryan looked at her differently now, not as a fancy CEO with too much money, but as a woman who looked like she'd been strong for too long. Lily came running over, smiling, breathless. "Daddy, that's the lady from TV." Veronica knelt to her level. That ice in her eyes melted a little more. "I remember you," she whispered. Lily grinned. "I like you." Veronica blinked. Something in her heart shifted. Maybe something in Ryan's did too. And just like that, a new question began. What happens when kindness turns into something deeper, something neither of them expected? The wind had softened since the storm, but something else now lingered in the air. Something quieter, more dangerous. Not fear, not excitement either. Possibility. Ryan still wasn't sure how to process what Veronica had done. A woman he barely knew had bought his house, paid off his lease, handed him a future he wasn't prepared for. He wasn't sure whether to be grateful or terrified. The next morning he sat at his kitchen table, staring at the ownership papers like they were haunted. Lily happily chewed her cereal, swinging her legs like she had zero stress in life, and honestly, Ryan envied that. "Daddy," she said with a mouth full of Cheerios, "are we rich now?" Ryan chuckled weakly. No, baby. We're just not drowning anymore. Oh, she thought for a second, then nodded. So like floating, he smiled. Yeah, like floating. Floating, he could live with that. That afternoon, he drove to a small parts store downtown to grab materials for a repair job. The cashier, an elderly man with kind eyes, noticed Ryan's distracted face. You look like you seen a ghost, the old man said. Something like that, Ryan muttered. She come back, the man asked knowingly. Ryan looked up, confused. What, the woman, the old man grinned. Fancy car, white suit, sunglasses like she owns the sun. Ryan froze. She came here? Yesterday, the man nodded. Asked about you, didn't say much. But her eyes, son, those were not the eyes of a woman who was just saying thanks. Ryan's heart punched his ribs. He drove home, thoughts buzzing like power tools in his head. People like her don't chase people like me. But what if this is not about debt anymore? He shook the thought away. Not possible. Still, he checked his driveway that night, just in case. The following day, he was working on rettling his bathroom, covered in dust, sweat, and grout, when he heard a knock on the door. He froze. Nobody knocked on his door. That's just how this neighborhood worked. You yelled, you called, you waved from the window, but you did not knock. He opened the door. There she was. No white suit, no heels, no power CEO armor. This time she wore jeans, a simple sweater, and her hair in a loose ponytail, still rich-looking but softer, realer, almost like she wanted to fit in, almost like she didn't know how. Hey, she said quietly. Hey, he replied, awkward, super awkward. She looked around at his tools, at Lily's shoes tossed by the door, at the patched-up walls, and smiled. You fix things, she said. He nodded. That's kinda my thing. She stepped inside, hesitated, then spoke. I didn't come here to fix anything, she said softly. Not today. I just wanted to understand who you are, who the man is that refused my money, who teaches his daughter that being broke doesn't mean being broken. Ryan didn't speak. His throat just didn't work. Veronica looked down, nervously fidgeting with her sleeve, something she did when she wasn't wearing her CEO mask. I don't know how to say this without sounding weird, she whispered, but I've been in rooms full of powerful people my whole life, and not once have I felt small. She finally looked up. Until I met you, his breath caught. Not romantic, not flirty, just honest. And sometimes honesty carries more weight than love ever could. He didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. But his silence was louder than words. Lily suddenly burst into the room, holding a drawing. Veronica, look, I drew us. This is you, me, and Daddy. You're wearing his shirt. Ryan nearly choked on air. Veronica looked at the drawing, the stick figure version of her indeed wearing his oversized shirt, and she laughed. Really laughed, not polite, not corporate, just real. It startled her. Maybe startled him too. Maybe this was the moment something shifted, not love, not yet, but the beginning of something that could become love if they let it. But what happens when a woman used to power starts craving something far more dangerous, something real? The next Saturday felt oddly peaceful. Ryan fixed a broken fence for Mrs. Donovan down the street, then replaced a busted garage switch for Mr. Harris. Nothing fancy, just normal life. But for the first time in a long time, his heart wasn't heavy. Because a storm had brought more than rain. It had brought a woman who made his life complicated, but also kind of different. He didn't admit it out loud, but he kinda didn't hate it. That evening, the neighborhood held its monthly Friday-ish cookout. Not officially sanctioned, not fancy, but folks brought folding chairs, shared food, and roasted cheap hot dogs over a fire pit like they were camping in the wild, even though they were literally in someone's driveway. Lily insisted they go. Daddy, Veronica might come, Ryan scoffed. Sweetheart, billionaires don't do backyard hot dogs. But oh, how wrong he was. When they arrived, she was already there. Standing slightly uncomfortable, holding a paper plate with 2 hot dogs, talking to Mrs. Patterson. who was showing her how to properly add mustard the American way. Ryan froze like he'd walked into a crime scene. She saw him smiled, not the corporate smile, not the mysterious one, a simple, nervous human smile. She walked toward him. "Hi." Ryan raised an eyebrow, trying and failing not to laugh. "Really? Hot dogs and neon mustard?" She shrugged. "I Googled how to be casual in America." He flat out laughed. She looked self-conscious, then amused. "Was it too much?" "Honestly," he said, "it's perfect." And for a moment, they weren't CEO and handyman. Just two people, awkwardly trying to exist in each other's worlds. They ended up sitting near the fire. She told him little bits about her life, not the corporate success or the magazine cover stuff, but the real things. How she moved through 5 foster homes as a kid. How she learned to survive by never asking for help. How kindness scared her, because kindness meant trust and trust meant risk. Ryan didn't speak much. He just listened. "You probably think I'm crazy," she finally said. "No," he replied quietly. "I think you're tired." She looked at him, eyes soft, defenseless, like no one had ever spoken to her that gently. Silence fell comfortable this time. Then Lily marched over with popsicles, face sticky, proudly wearing a glow stick necklace. "Daddy, Veronica's learning how to be normal," she announced. Ryan nearly spit out his drink. Veronica burst out laughing, like a real laugh, not a CEO laugh. "Yep," she said, "it's a work in progress." Then something unexpected happened, not dramatic, not romantic, just simple, natural. She started helping set up lawn chairs. She held a toddler while his mom got a plate. She laughed when kids asked if her car could fly. She started talking to people, really talking. Not as a CEO, but as someone just trying to belong somewhere. And Ryan, he watched. Watching a woman who lived in skyscrapers learn how to sit on the ground. Watching a billionaire learn to be barefoot on grass. Watching someone powerful learn how to be free. And maybe, just maybe, he was learning too. As the night faded, fire crackling low, Veronica quietly walked up to Ryan. She looked serious now. "Ryan," she said softly, "can I ask you something?" He nodded. She hesitated, voice no longer steady. "Why did you help me that night when you didn't know my name, my status, my story?" Ryan looked at her for a long moment. Then he answered, "Because you needed help." She blinked, like she wasn't expecting something so simple, so dangerous. Because simple answers are sometimes the hardest ones to accept. She looked at him not like a wealthy woman, not like a CEO, but like a person, and then she whispered something he didn't expect. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" he asked. "Be real," she said. Ryan's expression softened. "Then maybe," he whispered, "that's something we don't do alone." Her breath caught, but before either of them could say more, Lily yelled, "Veronica, we saved you a s'more." Veronica wiped her eyes quickly, smiled, and walked toward Lily. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. But what happens when a woman who never needed anyone starts needing someone for real? The next week felt different. Not like the storm, not loud, but quiet, different, like something shifting under the surface. Veronica started dropping by occasionally, never announced, never planned. Sometimes she'd bring coffee. Sometimes she'd just sit on the worn-out porch bench while Ryan worked on tools. No business talk, no transaction talk, just presence. Lily, of course, loved it. She started calling her V, completely unapproved, but Veronica secretly loved it. She never corrected her. One afternoon, Ryan was helping install cabinets at a client's house. Veronica had offered to help not because she knew how, but because she insisted she could learn to be average. He laughed. "Trust me, average takes work." There she was wearing jeans, hair in a messy ponytail, holding a drill like it was a weapon she wasn't licensed to carry. "You sure you know what you're doing?" Ryan teased. "I watched a YouTube tutorial," she said confidently. "Oh, great," he smirked. "From the lady who didn't know how to microwave popcorn?" That was one time, she protested. She looked at him, he looked at her. Silence. Then smiles, then something unspoken, something new. But then a woman walked in. Young, smiling, blonde ponytail, tulle belt across her waist like she owned the place. Ryan, she called cheerfully. Veronica looked curious. Ryan smiled. Hey, Amanda. Veronica straightened slightly. Oh, Amanda, a local contractor, confident and charming, shook Veronica's hand. So you're the famous Veronica I've heard so much about. Famous. That word always felt heavy, but right now it felt annoying. Oh, Veronica asked casually. He told you about me? Amanda playfully nudged Ryan. Are you kidding? He's talked about you like 3 times this week. Ryan nearly dropped a screw. Veronica's eyes widened just a little. Amanda continued, leaning against the counter. Honestly, I thought you two were, she gestured between them. Ryan coughed. We're not, it's... Veronica, calm but eyes narrowed, replied smoothly. We are not together. Silence, not awkward silence, electric silence. Amanda raised an eyebrow, smirking. Not yet, huh? Ryan froze. Veronica froze. Amanda winked and walked off to grab paint. Ryan and Veronica just stood there, speechless. He finally broke the silence. Sorry about that, Amanda, she's blunt. She's friendly, Veronica said carefully. You mean she's pretty? Ryan smirked without thinking. Her head snapped toward him. He blinked. Oh, bad timing. She stared at him, expression unreadable. Not angry, not amused, but something that felt like jealousy. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Do you like her? Ryan looked at Veronica, really looked. The woman who stood alone in boardrooms full of men, the woman who never flinched during negotiations. The woman unbothered by headlines was waiting for his answer. That thought alone nearly knocked him off balance. He exhaled. Amanda's a friend, just a friend. Veronica nodded slowly, but something eased in her shoulders. She nodded again. Okay, and it was more than okay. It was relief. Later, as they wrapped up, Veronica helped carry tools to the truck. She paused before leaving and surprised him. I didn't like how it felt. Ryan looked up. What, when she assumed we were nothing? Silence hung again, not heavy, not awkward, but meaningful. Ryan's voice was low. So, what are we? Her breath caught for just a second, but only a second. She stepped closer, not close enough to cross any lines, but close enough to blur them. I don't know, she whispered, but I know it's not nothing. Ryan nodded, heart pounding. And that means something. She smiled, just slightly. Something, she echoed. Lily ran out of the house yelling, Daddy V, movie night, we GOT popcorn. Veronica laughed. Ryan shook his head, and just like that the moment ended. But something had begun, something fragile, something powerful, something real. But what happens when feelings grow, and finally someone gets scared of them? Feelings were sneaky. They didn't show up at the front door knocking politely like good neighbors. No, they slipped in quietly through shared laughter, lingering eye contact, tiny smiles, and unexpected jealousy. And now they were here, loud enough to feel, but not loud enough to confess. And that scared both of them. Over the next few days, something shifted. Veronica didn't come by as often. She still texted occasionally. Still sent Lily little videos of funny dogs or photos of weird lattes she tried. Apparently matcha tastes like sad grass. Still joked. But her visits, they got fewer, her calls shorter, her reasons unspoken. She said she was busy, but Ryan knew she wasn't just busy, she was scared. Because feelings, real feelings, they force you to face things money and power never trained you for. You can negotiate contracts. You can't negotiate love. Wednesday night, Ryan stood in his workshop, wiping oil off a wrench, but really just avoiding thinking. Lily sat nearby, coloring a picture of their house. Only now the house had 3 figures in front of it. Ryan, Lily, and Veronica. Stick figures, but meaningful ones. You're drawing her again? He asked. Lily nodded. Yep, she said she'd come watch my school dance, remember? Ryan hesitated, because deep down he already feared she might not. Do you think she will? Lily looked surprised. Of course she will, she's V. V keeps her promises. Ryan nodded, but something told him promises were exactly what Veronica was scared of. At that exact moment in a glass office above the city, Veronica stared out at the skyline, lights glowing against the night. Her assistant, Daniel, knocked. Flight to New York confirmed. Your driver will pick you up at 6 a.m., she nodded. But her expression wasn't one of confidence. It wasn't CEO Veronica. It was just Veronica. The Veronica who didn't know how to handle happiness when it wasn't scheduled, planned, or earned. The Veronica who was terrified of promises, especially the kind you couldn't buy, sign, or guarantee. She glanced at her phone. One unread message from Ryan. Lily drew you again. She thinks you'll be here for her dance on Friday. You coming? She didn't reply. Not because she didn't want to, but because wanting it hurt. Friday came. The school auditorium was crowded, chaotic, full of laughter and cheap decorations, streamers and smiley faces and spring dance banners that were definitely made with dollar store glitter. Ryan sat in the front row. Lily, dressed in a little yellow dress, lined up with classmates for their performance. She smiled every few seconds, peeking out to look for someone, not him. Her. Ryan felt a twist in his heart. He checked the door, no Veronica. He checked again, still no Veronica. And then the music began, kids danced, parents cheered, teachers recorded at every angle like paparazzi at a soap opera wedding. But Lily, she smiled. Then slowly stopped. Her eyes kept looking out, searching. Ryan's chest ached. After the dance ended, parents rushed to hug their kids. Ryan smiled as Lily walked over, but she didn't smile back. "Daddy," she whispered, heartbroken. She said she'd come. Ryan knelt beside her. He didn't lie. He didn't sugarcoat. He simply said, "Sometimes, sweetheart, grown-ups get scared." Lily looked puzzled. Scared of what? Of caring too much. A beat of silence. Lily nodded slowly, but her eyes said everything. She wasn't just disappointed, she felt forgotten. And maybe Ryan did too. That night, Ryan stood outside on the porch, chilly air brushing his skin. He looked at the empty driveway. No luxury car, no storm, no Veronica, silence. Then his phone buzzed. "Veronica, I didn't come tonight, not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much. And I didn't know how to handle that, I'm sorry." He read it twice. Then again, before he could respond, another message appeared. "I'm at the airport, leaving for New York. But I keep looking at the door like I'm waiting for someone to stop me." Ryan's heart stopped. But will he stop her? Or will fear win over something that could change both their lives forever? Ryan didn't reply right away. He read her message again. And again. "I'm at the airport, leaving for New York. But I keep looking at the door like I'm waiting for someone to stop me." He stared at his phone, his heart thundering like it remembered something his mind was still denying. She wasn't asking him to text her. She was asking him to fight for her, something he'd not done for anyone except Lily. So for the first time in years, Ryan did something crazy. He ran. He grabbed his keys, yelled to his neighbor to keep an eye on Lily. "Watch my kid, emergency dad stuff." Didn't explain, didn't slow down, just drove. Meanwhile, at gate 17, Terminal B, Veronica sat alone. No assistant, no security detail, no armor, just a woman holding a plane ticket and a heart that wouldn't shut up. Her phone buzzed, her chest tightened. But it wasn't him, just another email, another contract, another empty billionaire thing. She exhaled shakily. "Oh, grow up, Veronica," she muttered to herself. "It's just feelings, just feelings." But that was the thing. Feelings had never been just anything for her. Feelings were unsafe. Feelings were unpredictable. Feelings weren't something you controlled, just something you felt. She hated it, until she didn't, until him. Until a storm put her in his house, in his clothes, in his life. And now she wondered what would happen if she just jumped into something with no contract. No guarantee, no safety net, just trust. Her phone vibrated again. This time a text. "Are you still there?" Her heart kicked. Hands trembling, she typed back. "Gate 17. Flight leaves in 15 minutes." Then another. "Ryan, if you're not coming, please don't say anything. Just let me go." She hit send, held her breath, and waited. She waited 60 seconds, no reply. 120 seconds, nothing. 180 seconds. Her phone was silent. Her chest felt hollow. She picked up her bag. Walked toward the boarding gate, heartbreaking because this time she had hoped. She handed her boarding pass to the attendant. They scanned it. "Have a safe flight, Miss Chase." She nodded, took a step forward. One more step. "Veronica." The airport froze. Her heartbeat slammed in her ears. She turned. And there he was, breathing hard, slightly soaked from the rain outside, wearing an old flannel and determination. He walked toward her, not dramatic, not romantic movie style, just real, out of breath, heart on display. She stepped back toward him, eyes wide, voice shaky. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" He stopped in front of her. Didn't touch her, didn't kiss her, just looked at her like she was the only person who mattered. Then he said it. "I didn't come here to stop you. I came here to tell you if you walk away, it's not because I didn't want you to stay. It'll be because you chose to go." Silence. She blinked, tears filled her eyes, but not the fragile kind, the brave kind. Ryan took a breath, voice low, honest, unpolished. "I don't have fancy words. I don't have money or power or the right last name. I can't promise you perfect, but I can promise you real." She exhaled shakily. He stepped closer. "No contracts, no deals, no debts. You don't owe me anything. But if you stay," he whispered, "you could have something." A beat, too. She stepped closer, face inches from his. "What exactly would I have?" she whispered. His reply was barely a breath. "A home." Her heart finally leaped. A tear slipped. This time she didn't wipe it away. The attendant called final boarding. People watched, but nothing else existed, just them. She took a step back. Ryan's eyes sank. Then she turned to the attendant and said 3 words, "I'm not boarding." Ryan closed his eyes, a quiet, shaky exhale, relief, shock, and something dangerously close to happiness. She didn't take the flight. But sometimes walking back toward someone is scarier than walking away. What happens now, when they must decide what this really is? Veronica didn't fly to New York that night. She didn't fly anywhere. Instead, she got in Ryan's old Chevy Silverado, the one with mismatched seats and a heater that worked only when it felt like it. She didn't complain. She didn't flinch. She just sat quietly, hands folded on her lap, like someone who had just done something terrifying but right. Ryan didn't speak at first. He just drove. Streetlights flickered and rolled across her face like waves, revealing emotions she usually kept hidden: fear, relief, confusion, and something softer. Something like peace. Finally, she broke the silence. "That's the first flight I've ever not boarded in 15 years. Ryan glanced at her. "And how does it feel?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Like I jumped off a cliff but didn't die." He smiled. "That's called living." She let out a shaky laugh. "I don't like it." "Maybe you're just not used to it," he said gently, and for once she didn't have a comeback. They got to his house. No dramatic entrance, no spotlight. Just his small, warm, messy home. The porch light flickered. Lily's hand-drawn pictures were still taped to the walls. The kitchen table wobbled like it was holding on for dear life. But as Veronica stood there, she realized something. It didn't feel small, or shabby, or beneath her. It felt like breathing, like quiet, like home. Lily was already asleep, sprawled on the couch under a mismatched quilt, clutching a stuffed unicorn like it was protecting her dreams. Veronica smiled softly. "She waited," Ryan whispered. "She kept checking the driveway." Guilt flashed across her face, but then something else came, not shame, resolve. She stepped quietly toward Lily, knelt beside her. softly brushed a strand of hair off her forehead, and whispered, "I'm here now, tiny human, and I'm not leaving tonight." Ryan watched her. He'd seen Veronica negotiate billion-dollar deals. He'd seen her command rooms full of powerful people. But this was the first time he saw her be gentle, unarmored, human. It took his breath away. Later, they sat on the porch, no big speeches, no dramatic music. Just two people, a cold night, two mugs of lukewarm tea, and something fragile growing quietly between them. Veronica looked up at the sky. "I own high-rises, but I never see stars like this." "That's because stars don't like cities," he said. "They like places where hearts are louder than cars." She looked at him, softly, genuinely. "You know," she whispered, "I used to think having everything meant not needing anyone." Ryan leaned back. "And now," she stared at the quiet street, at the old truck, at the worn porch, at the sleeping child inside. "I think having everything means a place to go even when you fail. People who don't need you to be perfect. A reason to stay." Ryan exhaled slowly. She turned to him, eyes unguarded, voice low. "I don't know how to be loved without owing someone." Ryan didn't rush to respond. He didn't give a deep quote. He didn't offer some poetic wisdom. He just said, "You don't owe me a thing." Her breath hitched. "I know," she whispered, "and that terrifies me." Silence, but not empty silence. Full, heavy, meaningful silence. She looked at him. He looked at her, not like a CEO. Not like a single dad. Just two people who had stopped running. Two people who didn't know exactly what this was, but knew it was no longer nothing. Then lightning cracked far off in the sky. No storm, just a reminder. That sometimes storms don't destroy. Sometimes they reveal. But opening up is one thing, letting someone in is another. What happens when the heart finally asks, "Now what?" The next morning, sunlight peeked through the curtains, landing gently on the living room sofa where Veronica had slept. Not in the guest room, not in some fancy hotel. Just on a regular couch, wrapped in Lily's unicorn blanket, looking strangely peaceful, strangely human. Ryan watched quietly from the doorway, coffee in hand. She looked calm, like someone who'd been running her whole life and finally stopped long enough to breathe. He didn't want to wake her. He didn't want to break it. But life, it has a habit of knocking, especially when you don't want it to. His phone buzzed. Unknown number, then another. Then three more, all from corporate. She woke to the sound. She blinked, saw the missed calls on his screen, and froze. Then the armor came back, invisible but instant. She sat up, pulled the blanket off, and straightened her hair, the quiet softness gone in seconds. "I have to go," she muttered. Ryan frowned. "Slow down, it's just phone calls. You're allowed to rest." She avoided his eyes. "Rest is for people who have time to break." That hit him harder than she knew. Before he could reply, Lily padded in, still sleepy, hair a mess. "V," she yawned. "Did you eat breakfast yet?" Daddy burned the toast again. Ryan rolled his eyes. "It was crispy." "No," Lily said with deep seriousness, "it was a crime." Veronica smiled just a little, but her eyes sad, conflicted. "I can't stay," she whispered. Not just to Ryan, to herself, to the house, to the feeling that scared her. Lily blinked. "But you said you'd come back today." And something cracked in Veronica's expression, maybe in her heart. She knelt down, took Lily's hand. Her voice was soft. "I know, tiny human, but sometimes grown-ups get scared." Lily frowned. "Scared of what?" Veronica looked at Ryan. Ryan looked at her, and this time she answered. "Of people who make them feel at home." The silence that followed said everything. She gently let go of Lily's hand and walked toward the door. Ryan didn't stop her, not because he didn't want to, but because he couldn't fix what she wasn't ready to face. She paused with her hand on the door, not turning around, just listening to the quiet house, to the little girl who trusted her, to the man she didn't know how to love yet. Then she whispered, "I don't know how to be here without trying to buy my place." Ryan said softly, "You don't have to buy it." She closed her eyes, swallowed, then walked out. 2 days passed. She didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up. Ryan told himself she'd reach out. But sometimes, silence is louder than any message. That evening, he sat on the porch watching rain tap against the old wood planks. Lily leaned against him, quiet. "Daddy, yeah. Do people leave because they don't care or because they don't know how to stay?" Ryan stared at the rain and understood something he couldn't quite explain. "Sometimes," he whispered, "people leave so they don't break what feels too real." Lily nodded slowly, then surprised him with, "So we wait." He looked down at her. "Yeah," he said. "Sometimes we wait." Meanwhile, 40 miles away, Veronica sat alone in her office. Not signing papers, not closing deals, just staring at one thing, a hand-drawn picture, a house, 3 stick figures, one in a ponytail, one with big hair, one wearing a too big shirt. At the top, written in 7-year-old handwriting, "Family, even if it looks different." Her heart clenched. Her eyes burned. And for the first time in her life, she didn't just miss people. She missed her place, her home, her people, not employees, not investors, but a man, a child, a house where life wasn't perfect, but it was real. She didn't text, she didn't email, she did something scarier. She reached for her car keys. She walked away to protect her heart. Now she's coming back to give it away. But will he still be there to take it? By late afternoon, the sky over Maple Street turned shades of coral and gold. Ryan sat on his porch, tightening a loose hinge on a toolbox, pretending to be busy. But really, he was just waiting, not hoping, not expecting, just waiting. Lily sat beside him, drawing again, more people, more stick figures, more hearts. "Daddy?" she asked gently. "Yeah. Sometimes people do come back," he sighed. "Sometimes." Then a familiar sound. The deep purring engine of a luxury car slowly turning onto their street. Not rushing, not hiding, coming home. Ryan froze. The truck wrench fell from his hand. Lily gasped. She came back. The car stopped in front of their house. Veronica stepped out, not perfectly styled, not polished, not CEO mode. Hair down, no makeup, eyes soft and tired, but peaceful, like someone who finally stopped running. She walked toward them slowly, not like a boss. Not like a guest, like someone ready to belong. She stopped in front of Ryan, breath shaky. Then she did something she'd never done before. She didn't speak first. She waited. His voice was quiet. "You came back." She nodded. "I wasn't running away. I was learning how to walk back without fear." Silence, just wind and truth. She took a breath, finally ready. "Ryan, I spent my whole life working for everything, earning everything, owning everything. But then I found something I didn't know how to earn." She looked at him, eyes shining. "Kindness, home, belonging," she swallowed. "I thought I'd lost it, but I realized you can't lose what's not for sale." His throat tightened. She stepped closer. "I don't have fancy words today. I don't have charts or contracts. I just have this." She placed her hand gently over his heart. "This, and something I've never said out loud to anyone who actually mattered." Ryan's chest felt like thunder and calm rain all at once. She whispered, "I love you, Ryan Holt." The world paused. His heart didn't. He exhaled, a sound between a laugh and a breath of relief. Then softly, "I love you too, Veronica Chase." Lily squealed, dramatically throwing her drawing into the air. "I knew it. I so knew it. You're in LOOOOOVE." Ryan and Veronica both burst out laughing like two people who had finally stopped fighting something beautiful. Veronica knelt, looked Lily in the eyes. "I'm not perfect. I don't know everything about being this, but if it's okay with you, I'd like to do life with you too." Lily thought very seriously, then nodded. "Only if you still make those burnt pancakes." Veronica grinned. "Deal." Weeks passed. Life didn't magically become easier, just better, sometimes messy, sometimes uncertain, but real. Veronica kept her shirt, the one she borrowed that first morning, but now it hung beside Ryan's flannels, not borrowed, not returned, shared. She helped build the Holt Foundation, not to repay kindness, but to pass it forward. Ryan repaired homes but also repaired hearts, starting with his own. And Lily, she got her STEM scholarship and kept drawing pictures of homes. Homes that always had 3 people, sometimes 4. She insisted they'd get a dog. And maybe they would. One evening, Ryan stood outside the shop, watching Lily and Veronica laughing inside, 2 people he never expected to be his family. But they weren't just in his life, they were his life. Veronica stepped outside, wrapping her arms around him. "You realize," she teased, "I once tried to pay you for saving my life." He looked down at her, smiling. "You did more than that," he said. "You changed it." She rested her head against his shoulder. "So did you." Sometimes kindness saves a life, sometimes kindness creates a life, and sometimes kindness becomes love. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. Yellow heart if you believe the richest hearts aren't the ones with the most money, but the ones that choose love, no matter how scared. Drop a red in the comments.